Jim Lancia, Downtown White Police. Today I'm going to read from chapter 32. The title is Monsters Under the Bed. As much as everyone hates cops, they are still necessary. Everyone loves a fireman, but he is not the one that will come to your rescue at 2 a.m. when someone is trying to break into your house and kill you. Even our troops deployed overseas have nothing to do with our protection here on the streets and in our homes on a daily basis. It is the beat cop that comes to your rescue, plain and simple. You do not have to love cops or even like them, but don't make them your enemy. The elderly are a vulnerable and all too often forgotten population, and this makes them easy victims for cowardly thugs. For example, the recent story of an elderly couple married for 65 years pulls at the hearts, for those who have them, of the people who know their tragic end. At home one night, the couple was surprised when a home invader came in, shot the husband in the face, raped his 85-year-old wife, and then beat her to death. Cited. How terrible for this couple to have to go through this at the end of their lives and then receive no news coverage of it in the United States. Our media never covered this story. It has been covered in Britain by their media. So our own law-abiding citizens here in the United States do not receive public outrage for the crimes committed against them and are denied public support. Why? Because the suspect was a 20-year-old black man. There are too many occurrences like this to even list, and many are racial in nature, resulting in black on white crime. But Americans do not hear this side of racial injustice. And now the scene goes to the police car on patrol. Are you going to stop farting at some point? I'm surprised you could detect them through all that cigarette smoke. You haven't stopped chain smoking since you got in the car. I could smell them. I could still smell them. My partner and I were really getting on each other's nerves on one seemingly endless night shift. People do not realize the conversations that go on between cops and on their shifts. It is not all police talk. That is done by actors playing cops on stupid television shows and movies. They never get it right. And I still hate the smell of cigarettes. Radio call. Red 42. 42 is on Boston Avenue. 42. We have a report of an elderly woman who says her apartment was entered and she believes someone is still inside. Remington Apartments, Building 4, Apartment 8. Check it out. 42, 10-4, on the way. It was on a rainy, windy night that we were dispatched to a housing complex for the elderly on the east side, not far from where the huge Remington Arms plant used to be. At one time, the largest factory complex on earth in square footage, manufactured nearly every bullet used for the American military in World War II. We arrived on scene and knocked on the door. An elderly woman answered and said, "Thank God you're here." She was everyone's perfect picture of grandma, with silver hair done in a 1950s style and wearing a light blue house dress, small and petite. "Yes, ma'am. What can we do for you?" "Well, officers, I heard something crash while I was sleeping. It's a windy night tonight, ma'am. It could have been a tree branch or something. Do you want us to look around?" Of course we were going to check things out, but you have to talk to people this way to keep them calm in a stressful situation, especially an old woman. "Yes, please. I know I heard footsteps." We went in and checked the apartment, a clean and well-kept area, but we found nothing unusual. "Ma'am, it looks like everything's all right. You must have heard something hit the outside of the building. We can check outside for you." "Officer, I'm sure someone is in my apartment. Please." Her facial features changed when we gave her the impression we were about to leave. "Please check one more time." "Of course we will. How could we refuse this woman who was all alone and scared?" The first sweep of the small apartment took only a minute, and there were no signs at all of a break-in or disturbance. The second sweep, however, was a little different. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the shower curtain move in the bathroom, just a little. I motioned to my partner to let him know there may be someone behind the curtain, and we quietly approached the tub. I pulled the curtain aside quickly, and there was no one standing there, but the window had been smashed. I pointed at the window and then at the footprints in the tub. My partner understood. Now we had to make a more thorough check of the apartment because we knew someone had definitely been here. "Wait near the front door, ma'am. We need to check something," I told the woman in a calm voice so as not to distress her further. At this point, she had no idea that her window had been broken. After every closet was checked again, and even the kitchen cabinets, the last place to look was under the bed. In the bedroom was a little lamp on a nightstand which dimly illuminated the small room. My partner took one side of the bed and I the other. When I was a child, I and most children would always check under the bed before going to sleep. There was never anything under there, until now. When I looked under the woman's bed, my first sight was of two white eyes staring back at me. He was a black male with a menacing look on his face. "He's under the fucking bed!" I instinctively grabbed at his hand, which was holding a pistol, and tried to pull him out towards me, but I could not pull him out. My partner was on the other side of the bed, who was also pulling the suspect by his foot. And so for a brief moment, we had a tug of war going on. I finally yanked him out towards me, and we both forcibly extracted the gun from his grip. He resisted furiously until he was finally subdued and handcuffed. While we were struggling with the suspect, a woman heard the commotion and came into the room with us to witness the event. "My God, was someone under my bed?" "It's all right, ma'am. We got him." I was out of breath. "You were right. There was someone here." I saw that her pocketbook was on the nightstand and some of her things were pulled out of it. "Did you have any money in your pocketbook?" "Yes, sir. I had $25 in there." After she checked the contents, she cried out, "It's gone!" Knowing the suspect had rifled her belongings and taken what little money she had, I searched his pockets and pulled out a wad of bills, which I proceeded to shove under his nose. "Steal from an old lady, you piece of shit!" I turned to the old woman. "Ma'am, here's your money." "Oh, but some of this isn't mine. There's more than $25 here." The black male spoke up. "Some of that's mine's." "You got a lot of fucking nerve speaking up." "Excuse me, ma'am." I turned to the woman again and said, "Use the rest to pay for the window this asshole broke. I'm sure he's willing to pay for it." "Hell no, mother!" I may or may not have slapped him to shut him up. Before we left with the suspect, we told the woman to call maintenance to fix the window and that if she had any family to call them so she would have someone to stay with her that night. We assured her she could call the police again if she felt the need for it. "No one's going to hurt you now, ma'am. We're taking him to jail." Radio call. 42's en route to booking. One black male. Suspect arrested for breaking and entering during night hours. Was still in apartment. Suspect was armed. 10-4-42. Is the complainant in need of medical assistance? Negative, radio. She is fine. I advise her to contact maintenance to fix the damaged window. The point of entry. 10-4-42. Good work. Immediately after I got off the radio, I turned and looked back at the suspect. "You're lucky you're still alive, you piece of shit. A fucking gun for an old lady, you fucking punk? What were you going to do with that gun hiding under her bed? You're going to do time for this one. If you ever go near that old woman again, I will hunt you down. And there's nowhere you'll be able to hide. Do you understand that?" He nodded with a blank stare. He knew I meant business. I sometimes think about that old woman and what would have happened to her if we did not do a second sweep or take her seriously. I truly believe God protected her and used us to do it. Sometimes when you look, there are monsters under the bed.